This episode of Jocks and Jills is brought to you, as always, by our friends at Shark Ninja. We're big fans of all three of their brands, Shark Beauty, Shark Home, Ninja Kitchen. They're a proud founding partner of the PWHL and Tessa. They have greatly improved my life over the past couple of weeks. I'm a fan of vacuuming, honestly. Vacuuming is kind of a satisfying task. I especially like vacuuming carpet, when all the carpet turns the right way and you get to make the rows on the carpet. One thing I do not like about vacuuming, however, is emptying the vacuum. And in fact, I will let the vacuum get so full that it won't work, and then I'll pretend that I didn't notice that it was full for my boyfriend to find it full a few minutes later. Or like the next time he goes to vacuum, so I don't have to empty it. Shark Home sent me their new stick vacuum. I am completely obsessed with it. It works both forward and backwards. But most excitingly, it comes with a docking station. Comes with a docking station. Like, it sucks going forwards, like, vacuum sucks going forward. But apparently, not all vacuums suck on the way back. This is just sounding like a little bit rated R vacuum talk, but I don't even know where I'm going with this. It sucks in both directions, so that's great, and I never want to say that sentence again. More exciting than the two-direction suck that the vacuum has.
Go on.
Is the fact that it comes with a dock. You put the vacuum on the dock, you press a button, it empties itself. Like, I forget if it's 45 days. You don't have to empty that thing for such a long time. You just bring the little bin to the garbage and dump it out. So thank you, Shark Home, for everything. Shark Ninja, we love you guys. And you guys are really, really cutting down the number of arguments about vacuum emptying in my household. So thanks.
We don't even have it. You know why? Because we have a robot that does it, and the kids love it. And the second the robot turns on to start vacuuming up their mess after dinner specifically, it's like, you know what I should do? If I ever want peace and quiet, like every parent out there knows, anytime you try and go to the bathroom, the kids are just in there having a bathroom party with you. I'm just going to make that thing come to the bathroom with me, because they just run the other way. They're like, it's going to get us. I'm like, you're darn right it is. Get out of here.
It's a robot. It's a robot in the home. You know what?
100%. Shark
Home goes beyond just cleaning up the messes. It's made our life a lot easier. So thank you guys. Proud founding partner of the PWHL, Shark Ninja. All right, Tessa. Let's get her going. Here we are in Edmonton still. We have never had a normal trip.
Episode 25. Never.
Oh, sorry.
I
didn't say 25, and it's literally your number.
It is, and I thought this meant good things. I felt that until we started to travel. And then I was like, right, traveling and us just don't mix. We are oil and water. We just need to not travel anymore.
Why do we leave the house? Like, why do I ever leave the house? Especially when I'm cozy and I know I'm cozy. Like, I knew on Saturday leaving Toronto in a snowstorm. I don't know, guys. It's so dumb to complain about travel in the winter. Like, you guys are probably like, skip this part. I don't want to hear about Tessa and Julia and their stupid travel shenanigans anymore. But I don't know. This one was a crazy one. I was on a 6 p.m. flight out of Toronto on Friday. Yeah. I get a and there's a huge snowstorm. I'm Canadian. I don't really feel like fighting with the weather. I get a notification at noon that we are delayed until 10:30 p.m. or something like that Eastern time. And we're flying to Edmonton, obviously, for the Takeover tour game, which we're pumped about. So we wanted to get there. As soon as I got that flight notification that I was delayed till 10 o'clock, in my head, I was like, oh, sit down on the couch, pour a glass of wine, let the snow fall. I'm not going to Edmonton. Like, we both accepted that our flights were going to be canceled. That's our own stupidity.
Not the case.
Well, is that true?
Well,
because we ended up making it to Edmonton at about 2 in the morning. We were at the game yesterday.
What did I say before I took off? What did I say? I was like, Julia, we were on 2 separate flights.
Yeah.
We're going to get there, and I guarantee you we're not going to make it back. Sure enough.
And if you're watching, you see that we're sitting in our hotel rooms in Edmonton, and we are stuck here. We were on a midnight flight out last night. We tried to fandangle the system. We put ourselves on standby for an earlier flight. That flight got canceled, and then our flight got canceled. And then we tried to get ourselves out of Edmonton, but a whole bunch of flights had been canceled, so everything was booked. Anyways, it's just another day in the life of Julia and Tessa. So, kindly enough, we got rebooked for Wednesday.
It's not like it's family day weekend or anything, and I don't want to be hanging out with my kids, but it's cool.
Yeah. Like, who needs family when you have Edmonton and hockey? So, whatever. We're getting out of here at some point. Tessa and I are gonna hop in the car, drive to Calgary. Maybe we'll see some friends in Calgary. We're gonna fly out of Calgary at some point before Wednesday, hopefully. So yeah, not totally surprising as to what has happened to us on our way to Edmonton. I don't know if we have anything else to update update
I'm
listeners
just
on
defeated.
life-wise. I know, like, we're a little sad, guys. Like, we want to go home. Like, it sounds so lame. We're both a little sick, too. Like, and we were so pumped to go home last night. We were grabbing our bags. Actually, this is something we need to update everyone on. We get back to our hotel room to grab our bags. We just had dinner, and we're just grabbing our bags to go to the airport for a red-eye flight. And we're staying at a nice-ass hotel. Like, I can dox it. Like, we're staying at the hotel that's attached to the Edmonton Oilers rink in Edmonton. Like, it's the NHL hotel, the JW Marriott. It's very nice. And honestly, you and I have complained recently that we haven't seen very much mini stick action in hotels
Ever
recently.
at all.
No, we're on the road a lot. We don't see any mini stick action. Last night at the JW Marriott in Edmonton, maybe the last hotel I ever expected to see mini stick action, Tess and I get off the elevator. And isn't there a bunch of kids just absolutely ripping mini sticks? Not just mini sticks. They've got the CCM Secret Minis going, which we had so much fun with Emma and Ratty and Jesse Eldridge this summer. They were using the CCM Secret Minis that like we had gotten to try out this summer early, so we were pumped about that. And you and I just kind of said in passing, like, oh, you guys got any extra sticks? And I don't know, we had a glass of wine at dinner, so we're like, you guys want to play mini sticks? Then we go into our room and we're like getting ready to go. You're in the bathroom. I'm putting my bags together. We're making it sound like we share a room on the road, which we don't, by the way. I just had my bags in Tessa's room for that couple of minutes. Anyways, then we hear this little ginger knock on the door. Just the softest knock I've ever heard, Tess. And they're like, we might actually have a couple extra sticks if you guys want to play mini sticks. So then we were playing mini sticks with this awesome family from, they were all righties. It was lucky for me. One lefty for you.
Yeah.
Then
they're best. They're the awesome little family.
Yeah. Two really nice
families. Two families.
We had a ton of fun. Yep. And then we're like, all right, let's wrap up mini sticks. Let's head to the airport. And then we got that notification that our flight was canceled. And we've kind of been a little sad ever since, but we're going to get over it. And we're going to get home. We're going to have a nice drive today. You're looking at me like you don't believe me, but we're going to try. We're going to try. We're going to be together and we're going to try. But we did have a ton of fun yesterday at the game in Edmonton. I've covered a lot of hockey games at Old Rogers, which I'm looking out at right now in my hotel room window. And the crowd yesterday was great. The game itself was great. But before we got into the Edmonton game, Tess and I were live on the concourse in Edmonton. We were able to break down a few of the games this week. So for our first part of Headlines, presented by Canadian Tire, a proud founding partner of the PWHL, as Canada's store, Canadian Tire has committed to advancing gender equity and inclusion in sport from grassroots to professional arenas. Let's throw it to Edmonton, Tessa, for the first part of our Headlines. Hey, Edmonton, how we doing today? I feel like I heard something out there.
Is there anybody out there?
Edmonton, are you out there?
We got some friends here with us, so that counts.
Yeah, we absolutely do. What's going on, guys? We're Tessa and Julia from the Jocks and Jills podcast. So pumped to be with you today in Edmonton. Man, Tessa, Ottawa, Toronto. I think we should start by talking a little bit about all of the Edmonton-based girls, Alberta girls, on the Ottawa Charge.
Listen, I feel like this is going to be a heavy charge favorite building.
I agree.
I mean, but you can't even hold it against them. There is good reason for it all. One, head coach Carla McLeod.
Yeah, anybody from Spruce Grove, Alberta, in the house right now?
I bet you Edna's here.
She's got to be here.
Edna, I hope you brought the cheesy broccoli rice. I'm going to be begging for it, right?
Is that a famous recipe of hers?
Are you nuts?
I've never had it. I've just had her Starbucks orders dropped off.
Oh my gosh. This cheesy broccoli rice is, you know what? I'm going to get her to send me the recipe so we can post it on our podcast so the world can understand the glory that Edna brings with her cheesy broccoli rice.
Okay. Straight out of Spruce Grove, Alberta. We also have Emryn Smashmeyer.
Mash.
Playing at home tonight from down the road in Bruderheim, Alberta. Any representation from there? Can we hear it?
Bruderheim. Has anybody dented as many posts as her family has? I don't know. I don't think so. I do know, though, as well, she's going to be extra fired up. Her son's in the house. So she's got not only her family from Alberta here, but she's got her son and her wife Genevieve Lacasse with her as well here too, which is pretty cool.
One of the best stories I think that has ever been told on our podcast was by Emryn when she told us about how she used to practice cross-checking on a tree. Is that common in this neck of the woods?
The cross-checking tree. How is that tree doing? I think she said it's no longer
They
around.
had to cut the tree down.
Yeah. The old cross-checking tree. If you don't have one, get one.
You
heard
need
it
one.
here first.
You need one. That's how you build up your skills. And then 2 players from right here in Edmonton, Alberta, and Danielle Serdachny and Steph Markowski. Like, got to be so cool for these girls to be playing at home for the first time. I know you never kind of got. Did you? You never got to play in Sudbury.
With the national program, no. I mean, I played there as a young kid, but
Course.
once I left for university, I never had the opportunity to go back and play. Closest was probably like Kitchener area. We had the Four Nations there. I don't know. Yeah, to be able to, especially at a professional level.
That's
come
what's
back,
so surreal about it. Like,
that's the coolest.
I'm sure that they've done stops with the rivalry series here. I remember the rivalry series swinging through here. But to be in this building playing pro hockey for these girls.
I know, it's wild. And I'm sure, I mean, for myself growing up, I always dreamed of playing in the NHL. So
had to.
now they're playing in an NHL building in front of family and friends. And for Danielle Serdachny, I feel like after last World Championship, scoring that game-winning goal in overtime, really etching herself, as, oh, hello, Charge fans, as the next up-and-comer, if you will. Players to watch. We've talked about her all season long. Just the little things that she does as a player that makes the game so much easier for her team. The way she can create space not only for herself but for her teammates, create lanes, and just the small things she does. She's such a cerebral player. I love watching her play, highly skilled. Edmonton, you got a good one, and she's representing you very well. Super pumped for everybody to be able to watch her live here today.
Yeah, and I feel like Ottawa's geared up to put on a show tonight. Their most recent game,
My gosh.
they tie the PWHL record for most goals in a regular season game with their 8-3 win over the Minnesota Frost. We haven't had a chance to break it down on the podcast yet. I feel like there's a lot of Charge fans in the building, so it's a good time to break down that onslaught of goals from Ottawa this week.
You got a little nervous because we had about, 2, 4. We probably got about 12 of them that just cruised in
I know.
quietly with signs beside us like, you better talk about that Charge game right now. It was 8-3, most goals ever scored in a game. But it was awesome. And Carla McLeod, I went back and watched I watched it once live, and then I went back and watched it again, and I was like, what changed? Like, how did this team go away on international break, make adjustments, come back, enforce those adjustments, and then have it happen? And it felt like exactly what Carla said. It was just sticking with the process, and they finally started getting paid for the work that they put in. And it just felt like, I don't want to even call it puck luck because that sucks. That takes away from the effort and the work that they put in and the stick-to-itiveness that they've had throughout the entire season. But man, it was nice to see the floodgates finally get just booted open. Gabby Hughes in particular.
Yep.
Getting her first goal of the season, a multi-point game for her. So nice to see her get rolling. Venisheva, I felt like, holy smokes, a Hattie for her. It was just nice to see them smile and have that fun and finally have goals go in, whereas in games past, it would usually be like a goalie making a massive save. The puck just went wide, off a post, off the crossbar or whatever. It felt like this game, finally, things were just like going for Ottawa. And I hope it's not a moment where they kind of take an exhale. I hope it's a moment where they grasp onto it and say, we just have to keep working that hard to continue to get these chances, to continue to go in, and they'll just continue to be successful. Look, and it's not like it was against a nobody team.
Yeah, Minnesota.
This was against Minnesota. For myself, both teams must have been exhausted, first of all, because they were just coming off of the international break, so this was probably a very hard game to play. For myself, I feel like on Minnesota's side, and this isn't taking away from Ottawa's win by any means, I feel like their goaltending is slipping off a little bit. If you look on, if any fans here are nice, look at that. If there's any fans here that check the standings regularly, on the right-hand side, look at the goals for and against. Okay, Minnesota's got one more goal for than they do against. So they're really relying heavily on their scoring power to get them their wins, is what this tells me, right?
Yeah.
So if their goaltending can really dial it in, can really rein it in and be two of the best goalies in the world, which they at one point both held that torch, they're going to be another force to be reckoned with. Otherwise, look, this is the second half of the season. Things only get more difficult from here. So it's an easy time to fall off. We saw it with them last year. We saw what happened to the team last year, right? So I feel like for Ottawa, they're gaining steam at the right time. For Minnesota, it just feels like there's a moment there where it's like things need to be tightened and sharpened up a little bit.
Yeah.
We've had some people walk in with very interesting T-shirts.
Could we don't have hand mics, but could you guys come up for a second? I wanna show off your tarps to the world. All
No
three.
way.
Banum's Booster Club. Thank you. I need one of these. Come on up.
Yeah,
come on up.
all of you, come on up.
There we
Hello.
go.
What's your name?
Shay. And what's your name? Lauren and Rachel, you guys made these amazing shirts. Benums Booster Club. Like, oh, wow. I just held that up upside down, which is a very good Jocks and Jills moment. I hope somebody got a video of me doing that.
It's on camera being recorded. Look at these beauties.
Thank you
Highlight
so
of my
much.
career.
What was the idea behind this?
That's the most epic photo in Canadian hockey.
They're saying it's the most epic photo in Canadian hockey history, and I completely agree.
It will never go away, I don't think.
Never. Jocks and Jills.
Totally cool.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you for coming. I love these. Where are y'all sitting?
Behind the benches.
No way.
Nice.
40.
40 in these shirts?
Not all of them,
Okay.
but a lot.
Okay, we got to come
Nice.
get a picture with you guys tonight.
Lots of signs, you'll hear it.
Wicked. And team you're cheering for today is?
Primarily Ottawa.
Permanently? You're from Edmonton, though? Okay. Did you pick it because the Alberta players on the team?
That's the first games we went to last year. We flew out to Ottawa.
You did. Flying out to Ottawa.
Oh, yeah. If we have a hand mic, that'd be great. The first game they went to last year was going to Ottawa. So what made you go to Ottawa?
We have family there, so it was
perfect.
free to live there and hang out, and they drove us everywhere, which was nice.
Amazing.
And I'm a big New York fan, and they were traveling that way, so I got to see them as well. Lose, of course. But
Oh, I thought you were going to say New York wasn't as good last year, so you picked Ottawa.
Ottawa's in Canada, so I have to cheer for them. I can see them more often. But
True.
Yeah.
True.
Fair enough. And you guys just jumped on her bandwagon. You're like, cool, free place to stay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Hot tub, you know.
Yeah.
Hot tubbing?
There was a
We
hot
love
tub.
it.
You guys were hot tub time machining? I wish I had known. I would have brought my shutter shades. We could have had an epic pic. But regardless, we're going to come find you.
This
We're going
is
to have
amazing,
some fun
guys.
later. Thank you for
Awesome.
these.
Yes.
This is amazing.
We got you. We
Do
thought
you
your
wanna-
husband might want one as well, so we got him a large.
He needs to have one.
Perfect. He needs one.
Ed,
Thank
they're
you so
thinking
much.
of you. Would you look at this?
Thank you.
Legendary. Thank you. Not
No,
at
that's
all.
amazing.
That's exactly
Those are the
what
best
we
kind of
want.
distractions. We absolutely need them in our life. Thank you for that.
Unreal.
Okay, so we've hyped up Ottawa a lot in the first few minutes of this pregame. We haven't talked at all about their opponents in the Toronto Sceptres, who have been on an absolute heater lately and are probably feeling pretty good today, too, because it's Hannah Miller's birthday. Hannah Miller obviously lighting it up right now. And because it's Hannah Miller's birthday, we don't have photos that we could throw up for you guys right now. We'll post them on our social media. You can find us at Jocks and Jills after this, and we'll have them up there. The entire team dressed up as Hannah Miller today. I feel like you would do the best job dressing up as Hannah Miller.
I've got the hair. Is that
You
it?
need the
Is that
toque.
why?
Yeah.
I need the toque. I need the center part. I feel like I should have done better. Sorry, Hannah.
You
Happy
were
birthday
halfway
to you.
there.
Regardless, I love this. This just tells you what their locker room is like, right?
They got to be having fun right
They're
now.
tight. They're having fun. They're loose. Hannah's on fire, so why not? It's her birthday. Dress up as her, and I think it's great. And apparently, it wasn't all just like toques and baggy sweatshirts. Apparently, she's into cycling. Who knew? Someone came in a full spandex cycling suit, and if that's not commitment to your teammate to letting you know how much you love them on their birthday, I don't know what is. Because let's be honest, we're in Edmonton, and it is the furthest thing from Warrenmere right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, one game last night, big one for Montreal. Montreal beats New York 6-2. Speaking of really good teams who are stumbling a little bit lately, I know Montreal's kind of looked unstoppable. Can you say since Christmas?
Yeah,
they've just
6
been
straight for
on a
them, right?
tear.
6 straight wins for them, 4 straight losses for New York. Tough. Look, it's funny. I don't even remember if I said it on the pod, but I had said it to you. It's going to be interesting the second half because it's going to be whoever can stay healthy. This league is so tight. And sure enough, right after I said that, Carp takes a puck to the face. She's out. And New York's really having a hard time finding that secondary scoring that they need. They need these players to step up and get that scoring. Look, they got a power play goal from Ella Shelton. They had Fillier find one, but it's a matter of, okay, we need more than that, guys. And this can happen on any team, keep in mind. It could happen to any team's top line where they go down. You see Sarah Nurse down with Toronto right now,
Yeah.
albeit Spooner steps in. She's getting some sniffs around the net. But when your top player like that, who is a major part of your power play, a major part of generating offense, a major part of, keeping and getting Fillier continually going, like, that's a lot of scoring chances that are being removed from the New York locker room. So they're really going to have to find a way to fill those shoes and generate and create more offense. So, Toronto taking advantage of that. New York, and chasing Schroeder from the net for me was the biggest thing. Look, it doesn't matter. Okay, New York, sure, they're struggling to find the back of the net. Schroeder is going to be able to keep any type of game tight. And the fact that Montreal was able to score 4 on her in the first period, just come out guns a-blazing, to have Osborne step in the second. I mean, it was a great pushback by New York in the second period. Don't get me wrong. Coach Fargo actually said he leaned into them in that first intermission. He said he had a lot to say, rightfully so. I'm going to assume there might have been a garbage can that got kicked. I can't confirm or deny. However,
once in a season, a garbage can needs to be kicked.
has to be kicked.
That is a rule of hockey. Once a year, one trash can has to go flying across the dressing room.
And you just hope your foot doesn't go through it and you take a spill. That's it, because it's happened to coaches before.
That'd be terrible.
Regardless, for Montreal, I just feel like they are firing on all cylinders right now, and they are the team to beat. Like this team, after last season, we saw the way they looked after they lost in the playoffs. You saw poo in that tunnel. There was a picture that was put out. This team was absolutely gutted and knew that they underperformed, and it's the last way that they want to feel this season, and that's exactly how they're playing. Albeit, kudos to coaching staff, kudos to GM Daniel Sauvageau. They did an incredible job drafting.
And using local talent, right?
Unreal.
Not even just drafting, but the players that they've invited to camp. They've found such underrated talent locally.
I am such a fan of what they've done and just the systems they've put together in order to be successful. Now, I'm going to continue to say this. Look, Cath Dubois is out injured. Teams this time of year need to find a way to stay healthy. And it's going to be interesting to see because it's only going to get busier. You got Women's Worlds coming up where all the top players are taking off and leaving. So you got to hope that all of these players stay healthy and continue to focus on the rest and the recovery to come back for their pro teams in order to make that final push before May 5th when playoffs start, right?
Yeah, we really are in that final push of the season right now. We're in the final push of our little pregame podcast here too, Tessa. So we got any predictions? Battle of Ontario. It's kind of, I didn't even realize it till yesterday, but Battle of Ontario taking place on Alberta soil.
I feel like we should ask some of these young players that we got here. What do you all think over there? We got, what is it, Colby's
kids.
Colby's kids. Do you guys want to come up? Give us your prediction. Come on up.
Okay, who are you guys cheering for
We got
today?
some Colby kids. Tell us who you're cheering for and what you think the score will be.
Come on up. Thank you. I'll shuffle over.
And what's your name?
My name's Chloe.
Hi, Chloe.
Chloe, who are you cheering for today?
I don't know.
No, just a good game?
Toronto. Do you have a favorite player?
Sarah Nurse.
Sarah Nurse.
Nurse.
Yeah, that's
Nursey,
a good
get up
favorite
here.
player. Any of your friends want to come tell us who they're cheering for? Come on up, ladies. Hey, how's it going? What are your names?
Ava.
Ava
Miranda.
and Miranda. Who are you two cheering for today?
Toronto.
Toronto. Do you have a favorite player?
Sarah Nurse.
Sarah Nurse. Why is she your favorite?
I don't know.
She's just cool, eh?
Yeah.
Nursey
cool.
bandwagon. I get it. My kid's a Nursey fan, too.
Yep.
So what hat you wearing? KC South? Is that your hockey team?
Yeah, can I give a shout out to them?
Yeah, please.
Shout out to KC512.
Shout out to KC512. Is that your team too, Ava?
No.
What team are you on?
I am in rec hockey. It's the Atomic League.
Atomic
Cool.
League. Shout
Yeah.
out to them too. And enjoy today. Thank you guys for coming. Have
Have
lots
fun
of fun
today. Cheer loud.
Cheer loud. Listen, guys, we are very excited today. We're very excited about the amount of Alberta representation on the ice. We're very excited for the first PWHL game in Edmonton. Any first goal scorer predictions before we wrap it up?
I'll go with Hannah Miller on her birthday, but Danielle Serdachny is 100% going to find the net today.
Oh, man. A birthday goal and a hometown goal. Sounds pretty good to me.
I'll take it.
And let's come back to Edmonton for the second half of our headlines, where we still are. I knew that was stupid as soon as I threw it like that.
I love it.
So while we were doing that live pod in Edmonton, and shout out to those awesome folks that made those Bonhomme's Boosters shirts. I was
That's
rocking one
hilarious.
yesterday at the game. I'm actually rocking it right now under my
Are you?
CCM sweater. Yeah, I still got my Bonhomme's Boosters shirt on for our road trip.
Because you have no other clothes to wear. Is that why? Thank God we got those T-shirts.
That might be why. That might be why. But it's also a great shirt. So shout
Same
out to Bonhomme's
socks,
Boosters.
no underwear.
I always bring a few spares of Getchin socks for
Okay.
emergencies. So that I was covered on. But yeah, I had no more clothes. I'm stinky a bit. Especially with all the time that I was on the airplane. Like, we've done a lot of sitting
I know.
around. So while we were doing the live pod yesterday, Minnesota was visiting Boston, and like we were watching a little bit in the first before the Edmonton game started.
Yeah.
Minnesota was up 2-0 after the first, and then what happened?
Well, I don't know what it is about the road, but Minnesota doesn't like playing on it. This is their third of 4 games on this road trip, and they've lost all 3 games. It's like they're allergic to being on the road. I thought this team was going to be in an upswing with everybody back relatively healthy and their lineup kind of coming back together. But it feels like, I don't know what it is about this time of year. And Minnesota, it just feels like second half specifically, well, I guess this is way before Worlds, but last year it was like in and around Worlds, this dip happened in their season where it was like, oh boy. And then all of a sudden, the locker room had to rally together to pull themselves out of it and just barely make the playoffs in fourth place, albeit it turned out well for them. But my goodness, they came out firing. I mean, Kendall Coyne with her speed. I felt so bad. I can't remember who the defender was on Coyne's goal, but I was just like, oh no, here she goes. Like she had the jets on. The defender hadn't even pivoted yet. Nice little forehand, backhand goal on Soderberg, who was in net for Boston. Then they got a little bit lucky, and McQuigg, it was like off the foot and in. You could tell she was trying to like kick it up to her stick, and it just totally went towards the net. I felt bad for Soderberg on that one too, but in that moment I was like, oh man, it's not her night. And I felt really bad. She was looking for her first win of the season. Didn't happen. Boston just rallies back. They're down 2-0. They score 4 unanswered. I love that it was Jill Saunier that got Boston going. I think that was something that was really, the spark that the team needed. She was excited to be there. She's playing on Nider's line. Her and Nider have history from back playing in Montreal in the CWHL. I feel like it was, and they're happy to have her, and like she scored, and everybody was so pumped. Tap was all on her, like it was like wicked. Tap actually started that play. Tap had a really good game in this game too. She scored. Tap scored the second goal, which was a nice one in front, and then Nider, being the leader that she is, scores a nice one as well, and Mueller gets the empty net goal, and that's it. I feel bad for Soderberg on Boston's side, getting pulled after the first. Like I said, she really wants to get that first win of the season. But Peslarova gets in for the very first time and earns her first win.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was so pumped to see that. Like, you and I loved covering her at the international level. Was she the best goalie last year at Worlds?
Yeah, did she win that? Was it last year?
In Utica, I'm pretty sure. Utica seems like
yeah,
such a
you're
long
right.
time ago.
I was trying
but
to figure out where the heck we were.
Yeah, I was pumped to see her. I think she's the first goalie this season that got a win in her PWHL debut. So pumped for her.
Yeah, nice to see that. Good for Boston.
You just sounded so cute. You were like, "Yeah, that's great."
Yeah, that's great. Good for her. Good for Boston. Boston's like, I like what they've got going on right now. I feel like there are some good vibes happening in that locker room, and it helps when you've got Peslarova stopping all 15 shots, like you said, coming in relief of Soderberg. It's her first career win in her debut, which is pretty cool. So Boston now, I believe, is in fourth place, if that's right. The jumps in the standings, the movement in the standings is wild right now.
I know, and we won't be able to break down the Boston-Minnesota game that is happening today, the day that we're recording this. We're traveling, so we won't be able to give an updated standings riff after that, but we'll talk about that game on Friday.
Boston's like 3 points back of Minnesota now. And Minnesota's got Montreal coming up. My goodness, their fourth game on the road. This time of year is so fun. I'm digging it.
It all seems like it's happened really fast.
Yeah.
And then yesterday in Edmonton, what a reception it was for the Alberta girls specifically. We talked about it in the first part of the podcast when we were live in Edmonton, but the Battle of Ontario goes down in Alberta, and the game itself does not disappoint.
No, it was a good one. The fans,
honestly,
first of all,
I want to shout out the players for the Takeover games too, because like the travel has been hard, and none of the games have been like sloppy really on the road. Like that Toronto-Ottawa game yesterday had every excuse to be like a little bit of a slop fest. Crazy travel, busy schedules, and like they put on a show.
They come to town, and it's not like they're just getting into town, going in the hotel, hanging out at the spa, resting, eating, and going and playing. Like these ladies are out in the community, rubbing elbows with the kiddos, inspiring the next gen. Then they're practicing, they're training, then they got to perform in the game. Like you said, after all of this crazy travel. I know Ottawa got in super late on the Friday. Was it Thursday or Friday? And then Toronto's flights were delayed. It was just like what these ladies do for this game is props to everybody that has taken part in a takeover tour game, because there's a lot of work that goes into them before, but then the execution definitely falls on the ladies and they never disappoint. Gabby Hughes is on fire still. It was awesome to see her to continue to shine. She had a scary moment there where you and I weren't sure if she's going to be coming back in the game. We thought she was hurt, but she's playing so honest and true to herself, and she's happy and excited when she scores, and that is very like a raw, true emotion, and it's nice to see it come out of her, because you could tell throughout the beginning parts of the season how just frustrated she was. And it wasn't the fact that like, oh, I need to score goals or I need to get points. It was like, I want to perform for my team. That's where her frustration was coming from.
And she just
so
doesn't
nice
seem like a generally frustrated person. Like she just doesn't seem like her vibe. Like she seems so much more free now that things are just flowing in her direction a little bit more.
100%. Nice to see. Happy for her. Albeit the game didn't turn out the way she wanted, but nice to see that she's continuing to roll. And speaking of continuing to roll, Daryl Watts scores 2 goals in this one just to throw her team on her back and carry them to the win. It's wild. I had said a while back, like, Watts needs to stay hot for this team to continue to be successful. Sure enough, here she is doing Watts things. And you know what she's doing great is on her first goal, the power play goal, she got it was kind of like a jumbled play. She picked up the puck, circled to the tops of the circles, circled back to the tops of the circles, and then made herself a threat. She didn't look to pass. She didn't look to set up again. She was like, I'm taking the puck right to the top of the slot. And she did. And she knew by doing that, there's going to be a lot of chaos and like helpful screens in front, whether it was her players or the other team's players. She just lets a ripper of a shot go, posting in. Beautiful. She sellied so hard. And I was like, yes, like, you deserve that celebration. Like, that was good hockey right there. That was smart hockey. That's Daryl Watts hockey. And that's what everybody had wanted to see all year long this year and last year. And I feel like she's hit cruise control right here. And it's awesome because she's helped Toronto get to these 4 straight wins that they've got. Now Toronto's tied for second, which is wild. And then you look and you're like, hold a minute. New York's in last place right now. What just happened? Like, it was like we blinked and this happened. We were just talking about Toronto being in last place and what they got to do in order to climb themselves out of it. And it was just literally get points, force games into extra time, certain games that you don't belong in. Just bank those points. Just get. Now all of a sudden they've got 4 straight wins. They're tied for second. New York's in last, looking up like you guys are where we're supposed to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's insane. And a large part of it goes to Toronto's power play. They had 2 power play goals in this one that kept them in the game. And the thing about their power play, like I said, is they literally just kept it simple. They didn't try to overdo anything. Watts' goal was literally, she's the threat. We know she's got a good shot. We know she can make a play. Took it right to a scoring location. Shoots the puck, scores. And then just a nice simple play on Julia Gosling's goal.
Super
It was
nice.
a feed down low. She find the soft space right up to her one-time shot in. Boom. That's what's supposed to happen all of the time. And it just feels like their power play is that. Like, just keep it simple, stupid. You know what I mean? The kiss roll. Keep it simple. It'll all work out. Don't overthink anything. Don't try too hard on it. Just stick with what works. And honestly, sometimes white paint is the best color for a room. And that's exactly what they're doing.
Yeah.
Ottawa, on the other side, their power play isn't looking too bad either. They had 2 power play goals in this one too. Gabby Hughes on the first one. Nice little pass in front with her. Turn it around. Short side in. And then you got Vanisheva, whom I'm a huge fan of. This kid just plays with so much spunk and spark. She literally walked into that slot and just let a slap shot go. And I was like, good. And you could tell it was like a little bit of anger, a little bit of frustration that when she tied it up to make sure this thing went into overtime. Both teams, again, it felt like it was such a 50-50 split in that rink with who people were cheering for. Like, I really couldn't get a grasp or a vibe on. Yeah, it wasn't. There's a lot of Toronto fans.
A lot of Sarah Nurse. Sarah wasn't even playing yesterday. We didn't mention Natalie Spooner didn't play yesterday either because of load management, but it's hilarious how many girls in charge jerseys were like, oh yeah, Sarah Nurse is my favorite player.
Yeah.
She has that impact.
She does, which is great. She's amazing for the game, and she's such a great role model. I do have to give a shout out to Daryl Watts, though, with the wraparound for the win.
You love it.
Love me a good wraparound. I love a good wraparound.
Yeah.
Wraparounds are fantastic. Usually I'm talking about Spooner doing wraparounds. She took a page right out of Spooner's book.
Yeah. It's awesome. 9 points in her last 7 games. Like, Daryl Watts has been on absolute fire.
And I'm sure Toronto's flying home, and so is Ottawa today. They were smart and booked flights home the next day. Julie and I were trying to get home for it's Family Day weekend in Canada, just so everybody knows. So like, just want to be with the family. Like, I just want to be with my kids right now. Which apparently Annie, I just got a text, is very sick. She's vomiting. So poor Ed is home with both kids. Shout out to Ed. One of which is losing her lunch, and the other one's just hanging tight.
Shout out to Ed, who will update you every single step of the way and tell you every single detail of what he's dealing with, so you never have to miss a beat.
Yeah, because I'm choosing to be here in this hotel and having to drive a few hours up the road in the winter.
That's
to
what
Calgary.
we want to do. That's what we
'Cause
want to
there's
do. We
nothing
want
I'd
to hop
rather
in
be
the
doing.
Corolla and we want to get on the highway and drive to Calgary. We want to be doing that.
I'm probably going to help him out. I'll have to order in. Actually, Montreal's playing tonight, right? Montreal's playing on
Yes.
Monday night. So there is free delivery with Pizza. You know what I'm going to be doing, Ed? Here's my contribution while I'm away. I'm going to be ordering Pizza with some honey hot wings that he likes, or hot honey, whatever they call it. Order it in. A little knocky poo on the door. Ed's going to be like, what's this? Surprise. Free delivery, babe. You got yourself some pizza and some wings. Cozy up near a fire. Have the kids snuggle. Probably not too close with Annie. Just have a bowl nearby. You and Theo can just go ham on some pizza. Although there will no be ham. There won't be any ham on the pizza. Theo's strictly a cheese guy.
Good to know.
Ed's more of a pepperoni, bacon, hot peppers. That's Ed's order.
Ooh, nice.
Side of honey
if
hot
you're
wings.
ordering for them, Tessa, from Pizza, I have to recommend the tots, because I had the tots this week.
I've
and
heard.
I think Theo will go freaking crazy for the tots. They're
Dude,
so
I
good.
heard.
Yeah, they're
I'll
amazing.
add some on for the guy. Wait, what kind did you have? The creamy garlic?
I had the creamy garlic tots, and they were
Yeah?
so good. It was like garlic bread except in tater tot form. I don't know how to make that
What?
sound not insane, but like it's a concept I could never have come up with. It is really good.
Amazing. I'm ordering some.
Pizza.
I'll add some to the list. Surprise. Ed deserves it. I mean, he's not a big carb eating guy, but I guess on a day where you're just depressed and sad and your wife's not home for family day and your kid's barfing and you're hoping to have a nice family day. Oh my gosh, that sucks.
What
Poor
can
guy.
you do?
Thanks for holding it down, Ed. And thanks for the free delivery, Pizza.
They both hold it down. Shout out to
Yes.
Pizza and to Ed. All right, let's keep her going. You held it down for me this one yesterday because I had the pukes yesterday morning before the Edmonton game, or I
That
guess
is
that was a
fair.
couple days now. And we've been like jumping around days because we've recorded this podcast on different days, and we've been in flux. But Tessa was able to sit down. Honestly, I was kind of glad that you two were able to sit down together because this is a funny story. I forget if I told this story on the podcast. I'm sorry if I did or if I just told it to you in real life. But when I was in Montreal recently, I saw Kori and she was like, "Hey, where's Tessa?" And I'm like, "Oh, where's Tessa? Like, what about me?" By the way, the interview is with Kori Cheverie. When I used to work at Bar Down, like I'd go into any rink, like I'd go into the mall, I'd go anywhere and people would be like, "Yo, where's Jesse?" And I'd be like, "What about me? Like, don't you care that I'm alive and breathing?" And now it's become, where's my new other half? It's where's Tessa? So I was giving Kori the gears about it, and she felt so bad. But and she was like, me and Tessa go way back. Like she was trying to justify it. I'm like, Kori, I'm just bugging you, girl. But you guys go way back. You have lots of fun times together. I haven't heard this chat yet, but I'm gonna assume it was just as hilarious as you two are when you get going together.
We were digging up some old dirt and
Nice.
it was so funny. I forgot about when she first moved to Toronto when we played together, where she lived. And like, Julia, it's hilarious. I busted a gut. When the interview was over, we had some good laughs afterwards too. And some pretty cool insight, from just her coaching days and all the places she's been and who she's coached with. So this is a good one. You want to listen to this one. We love her. Montreal has learned to love her. I know they weren't excited when Kori first got hired because she wasn't a French-speaking individual. But man, there's a thing about Kori that I learned too. She's studious, and when she wants to do something, she buys in 110%. So she's been practicing and learning her French, which is awesome to see. So enjoy this one. I hope you enjoyed as much as I did. Here's Kori Cheverie, head coach of Les Victoire.
This interview is presented by Canadian Tire, proud founding partner of the PWHL. As Canada's store, Canadian Tire is committed to advancing gender equity and inclusion in sport, from grassroots to professional arenas. Here she is.
It is with great joy and pleasure that I get to sit down with a former teammate of mine, a friend, and someone that I now get to cover in the media, which is pretty unique, in Kori Cheverie, head coach of the Montreal Victoire. Apparently she's pursuing a singing career. I'm not sure. I just saw that take place. It was awesome. I'll give you that. Hailing from New Glasgow, Nova Scotia. And Kori, I think it's kind of cool because last week, it's pretty fitting that we're having you on. Last week, we were just, giving the East Coast all of the love. Obviously, Rivalry Series ended on the East Coast, so I'm assuming that you were wildly busy being an East Coast celeb and all, and finally now back to, I guess, what we would call real life back in Montreal, leading your team to victories.
Yeah, I mean, being out on the East Coast was awesome with the rivalry, and it was a quick week, but got to see a lot of friends and family, and then back right into practices with La Victoire and into games. So it's been a quick turnaround, but, that's why we coach.
Like, the East Coast love is like no else, hey? Like, I say you're a celebrity and like, you legit are on the East Coast. Like going home, not only do you have like a ton of friends and stuff, like your mom lives there, your sister's there, you got your best pals, Katie Gavin, who we both know, and she was my chiropractor, by the way. She was Corey's roommate. I used to pop by and get her to adjust my back and shoulder. She's out there now with the new family. So, like, did you actually have time to, like, enjoy any of it? Because, like I said, you had to balance family, and then there was obviously media, and you want to give back to, like, the young hockey community there, too.
Yeah, I mean, Gavin, or I guess Katie and Emily and baby Eden came to visit my hotel room, so we spent a little bit of time there, so that was nice. They came to the game as well, and then got to see my mom and some friends and family after our game, but it was pretty busy being on the East Coast and being from there. There's more events, there's more kind of moments that we engage with the community, and it's just awesome that Halifax and Summerside got to experience our team playing against Team USA, and I think it was just long awaited.
Halifax and Summerside. I've been to both places for golf tournaments and stuff with Hockey Canada and just events on the regular. And I've never been there in the winter. I should just preface this story. But summertime, they know how to have fun. Like Summerside, I'm like, where's this from? Like, what's going on here? It's like a small little town. I get there, I'm like, this place knows what's up. And it's just like, you can say that consistently about the East Coast. For those who don't know, Corey's mom, Janice, MJ, Mama J, she's basically a celeb, but also like the most supportive and proud mother of all time. How was it for her to like be in the stands and watch you coach behind the bench with Team Canada and get that rivalry win? Because like, MJ loves a good hockey game, and obviously she loves you a lot, Corey. So it's pretty cool to have her like live vicariously through her daughter, in a sense. Like she's a good mom, and like I can just feel the love oozing from her when I see her post on Facebook all the time about you.
Oh, I know. Yeah. I mean, my mom is my biggest supporter. Like I would not be where I am today if I didn't have her support all the way through. And, for her, she's obviously seen me coach quite a bit with Team Canada and now La Victoire. And, what was really special too was my sister was in the stands, and she came over to the bench, and I'm like, Leah, we can't talk right now. Like I have to coach. And she's like reaching her hand over. She's got tears in her eyes. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go over here and I'm going to take a second because, she doesn't get to see that all that often. But, she follows La Victoire. But her and my mom in the stands, my brother couldn't make it to the game. But still awesome to just have that experience and share that experience with them.
That's cool. She's not sporty, right? She's not a sporty spice. She's more of a posh spice, your sister.
No, she's half and half. She likes her yoga. She likes her walk. She likes ultimate frisbee. She's a bit sporty spice, so loves walking her dogs. But yeah, has recently gotten into hockey more so. Even though, I played my whole life. Didn't come to too much.
Just getting into it now.
Yeah, just loving it now. And she loves La Victoire. She does not miss a game. She called me this morning to talk about the game and game last night. Yeah, so it's exciting that she, is really diving into it now. And that's what I love about our league in the PWHL. Like we're, catering to fans who are young, and we're catering to fans who are older as well, and, want to get into the game for the first time.
Absolutely. It's really cool. It's funny because it's like she didn't want to get into it when you were playing, but now that you're coaching, it's like, oh, Corey's not playing. Sure, yeah, I'll watch. I'll get into this.
Oh no. She came to a few games when I was a player, but you know, she follows us more now for sure.
Yeah, that's cool. So let's talk about Kori grew up a player first turned coach. Obviously hailing from New Glasgow, Nova Scotia. We were talking about the East Coast there. But you didn't live there actually the whole time. This is what's cool about your story. And I learned a lot about you during my hockey school in Sudbury actually this past summer. A little cool meetup. You actually spent 7 years in Moosonee. For those who don't know where Moosonee is, just drop it into your Google Maps real quick and have a quick look-see. Kori Kori grew up on winners, let's just say that. But how did you find hockey, and when did that love story start, basically?
Yeah, so, you know, my mom was a teacher up north in Moosonee, Ontario, and that's what brought us there. And so I spent, you know, I think we moved back to Nova Scotia when I was 8, and that's when kind of my love for hockey really took off. I had friends in Moosonee who played, but really when I got to Nova Scotia, you know, all my friends would come back on Monday and talk about all the fun they had on the weekend playing hockey. And it was a really popular time for movies, and the Mighty Ducks had a big kind of impact on me wanting to play. I was like, oh, that's what hockey's all about. Okay, I want that. But yeah, that's really, I started playing when I was 10. So I was quite old, I guess, if you look at the age of kids starting to play now. And just kind of worked my way up through the minor hockey system in New Glasgow, and then I switched over to rep hockey. And after that, at that time, there was not a lot of opportunities for women to play in women's leagues in Nova Scotia. And so, you know, in grade 11, I left and went back to Ontario actually, and played my junior career out in Mississauga, Ontario. And that's when, you know, my university career started after that. And then that's when we met in 2010 with the Toronto Furies.
So you grew up, obviously, you said there wasn't much opportunity out east for, you know, girls. So there was like not many, if any, girls teams at all out there. You were strictly playing boys?
Yeah, we had like one Pee-wee traveling girls team that got put together like as an all-star team. And that was kind of my first look into women's hockey, but I didn't actually make the switch over until grade 10. So I played on the boys' side for quite a while.
No way. And this traveling girls team, what was it? You're just going all over the East Coast? Like, where were you?
Well,
who were you playing?
It was honestly just for like a weekend or two. It was nothing crazy, just something that got put together. Hey, you want to play on this team? Okay, sure. And we went and played a couple of games, but that was my first time being with an entire team of girls, and really cool experience, and just kind of a different perspective on the game. But it really opened my eyes to what there could be out there.
Yeah, no kidding. And then what age were you said when you came to Mississauga?
I was in grade 11 when I moved to Mississauga.
So was it the Chiefs that you played for?
Yeah, Chiefs. I think they're the Hurricanes now, but it was the former Junior Chiefs.
Junior Chiefs. And then who was playing, a notable name or two played on that team with you?
Let me think. There was Corrine Schroeder, Shannon Molson, Natalie Payne, Jessica Zarafa.
No way.
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
I play beer league with Jessica Zarafa now.
Oh, that's amazing.
Isn't that
Small
wild?
world. Yeah, that's great.
I love it. So you make the move for yourself at that age and for your mom. I mean, it's got to be a little bit intimidating and scary, no?
Yeah, I mean, that was a huge move. You know, my mom basically decided to move there with me, and, you know, was able to find a job, luckily. And at that time, there weren't a ton of teaching jobs, and she was able to find a job, move up, take me with her. and you know, Corrine Schroeder lived with us as well. And I do have to mention like Brittany Simpson, because Brittany Simpson is one of my closest friends, and she'd be mad at me if I didn't mention her. That you know, she was a big part of that Chiefs team back in 03, 04. But yeah, I mean, it was such a cool experience, and one that, you know, really kind of pushed the envelope to, you know, finding a way to do what you love the most, and your family supporting you and finding a way to help you achieve that. And, you know, I can't thank my family enough for that. And my brother and sister were in Nova Scotia at the time because they were going through university. And so we kind of were dividing and conquering in order for me to play hockey. So I'm really appreciative of that.
It's wild, hey? Like, looking back now, I think of all the stuff that, like, my parents did for me. And at the time, it didn't seem like that big of a deal, obviously, because you're a selfish young kid. But, and then you look at it now, and it's like, how the hell did they pull that off? You know what I mean? And it's like,
yeah,
you're incredibly grateful and thankful. And now that I have my kids, and I think Kendall Coyne said it best on our podcast when she was on, she was like, you loved me this much? Like, it's like an insane feeling and an understanding that, like, oh my gosh, like, you know, I would give my left boob for my kid any day just to be able to go play hockey. And for your mom and for your family, like, I was going to say, it's not just your mom, it was the rest of your family as well that sacrificed so you could have that. And, like, look where you are now. So I think in that moment where your sister was, like, putting her hand over the glass, it was kind of that, a full circle moment, right? Where I'm getting emotional. Would you look at that? Where, you know, she felt like a part of that, and she was just so proud of, like, everything that you guys, you know, had gone through as a family to be able to have you be where you are now, which is pretty cool. You talked about Mighty Ducks, and we kind of literally played for the Mighty Ducks on the female side, which was a ton of fun. So I knew you. I met Kori after her St. Mary's days. You spent 4 years at St. Mary's, which, Kori, this kind of blew my mind, and this is no knock. I didn't know this. I guess it kind of makes sense because you are you were always a student of the game, but you were an all-academic player.
Yeah, I know.
You were a straight A'er?
Well, tried to be. You know, it was hard work to do that for sure. But, like, when I'm involved in hockey, and, you know, I want to do my best, but when I'm involved in school, like, I just want to be the best at everything. So it's a hard way to live, honestly. But yeah. But the school, I really enjoy school, actually. School was something that I really loved, and I tried different things. Like, I ended up with my honors in criminology, which is funny.
What?
So studying crime. Yeah. And I dipped a little bit into business. Didn't love that as much. Ended up doing a little bit of business after my undergrad degree. But yeah, I really liked school.
Crime. So what was it? CSI that got you? Like, were you going to be a detective?
No, I wanted to go into law school. But
wow.
Yeah. Then it turns out, like, the LSATs are really hard, and it's hard to pass that test. So no, but you know, I thought I wanted that, and then, you know, I wasn't quite sure at the end of my playing days in university what direction I wanted to go in, and that was a big reason why I wanted to continue to play, and I wanted to get into the CWHL so I could kind of explore new opportunities, not only for hockey, but just a new city to see, you know, what I could do next. And but yeah, I think, you know, I give credit to my grade 11 and 12 law teachers that, you know, put me on a path of really studying criminals, honestly. We did a lot of, I know, it's kind of funny, eh? But
yeah,
but
kinda.
But really,
I was just studying criminals in grade 11.
When you say it that way, yeah, I mean, it's kind of silly, but it was really interesting. Really interesting. Yeah. So that's what pushed me into criminology, and at the time, you know, St. Mary's was one of the schools in Canada that had the criminology program, and it was well known, and so that's the school I went to.
Did you know, like, how much reading was actually involved in being a lawyer? Like, there's a lot of reading. That's all you're doing.
I know there's so much reading. I don't fully know, but I have a couple of friends who are lawyers, and they do a lot of reading, and it's hard reading. It's not just like a a nice little casual book. It's like
No.
you're critically thinking every single word, really.
I know. So
Yeah.
you turned coach and decided to watch the video version instead.
Yeah, I decided I needed video instead. But I will say the amount of video I watch, I don't think, even getting into coaching, I don't think you quite realize what type of work goes into behind the scenes of what it takes to bring a practice to life or bring a game to life or, even just working with your players and how much fine tuning and detail it goes into to just have a conversation with an athlete that will help impact them right away.
Right. Before we get to your coaching, because we're going to break all that down, we got to talk about when we played on District 5, a.k.a. the Toronto Furies together. And it's kind of cool how things work out because I always think there's like moments in people's career where there's a little fork in the road and they just make a decision and it leads them to where they are now. And I think this was one of them truly for you. You were actually on the West Coast when you were drafted to the Furies back in 2010. What were you doing out there? And then you were just like, yeah, cool, I'll come play. And you just jumped in your little white car. I forget its name, but that thing's been everywhere.
Polly Pocket. Yeah, I knew I wanted to play after school. And at the time, I think that there was a draft for the CWHL. You were drafted first overall. I remember that. And but I didn't enter that draft. And then somehow the CWHL was like, we didn't include everybody who could possibly be included in this. So they had a secondary draft. Yeah, I know. And I had already committed to playing for the Edmonton Chimos at the time of the Western Women's Hockey League. And so I was already out there, living out there for 2 weeks. And, I get a call from Barb Fisher. And she's like, we had a quick conversation. And she's like, Kate, the draft's today. I'll call you if I draft you. And I had a conversation with I think her name was Jody Cates or Jody Katz of Brampton too.
Yep.
Same kind of conversation. And I was like, okay, one of those two teams is going to draft me. And it turned out to be Toronto. And ultimately it made the most sense for me. Like I dreamt of playing in that league. I used to wake up at 5 a.m. to watch what was the NWHL at the time, the final, because that's when it was aired. I used to get my mom to wake me up in time to watch the replay at 5 a.m. And I knew I wanted to play in that league. It was closer to home being in Toronto, so it just kind of made sense. So I packed up all my stuff, flew back to Nova Scotia, packed up Polly, and got in my little white Toyota Tercel, Shania Twain, cassette, A and B side, and just drove to Toronto. It's funny, my mom found me a place to live on my drive. I did not have a place to live when I got in that car that morning and headed to Toronto. I was like, well, I know Jenny Bryan, I know Sammy Joe. I'll just sleep on one of their couches until I can find something.
Did you?
Yeah, well, that's when. So my mom called me. I got to Montreal and I was staying there.
Apartment?
And then, no, you remember my great aunt Betty?
Yes.
So I was going to live with Betty, and Betty, was 87 at the time. So I was going to live with my great aunt Betty. She had two other women living with her, one in her 60s, one in her 40s, and then me at 22. So there's four of us living in a house together.
I remember this very, very, just a minute amount. This is so good. Keep going.
A little bit. Yeah, so I moved in with Betty and so grateful, in Etobicoke, close to the rink. And I was living with Betty. I got a retail job at Nike at the mall. And I was also working through the day at a daycare. And so I'd work from 7 to 5 at the daycare. And then if we didn't have practice, I would go to the Nike store and work from 6 to 9 or 6 to 9:30 or something. So I was working 2 jobs, playing pro hockey at the time and living with Aunt Betty.
And the Golden Girls.
The Golden Girls. Yeah, that's right. You
When did
remember?
you move out?
It's all coming back to you.
It's 100%, and I cannot wait to like talk about this more in depth after we get off this, because there's so many jokes and funny things that I want to throw around that we won't put on here. But how long did you end up living with Aunt Betty? Was it for the whole season?
For 2 years. Yeah, 2 years.
It was
I
2
lived with-
years at Aunt Betty's?
Yeah. Yeah. I lived well, I didn't live there in the summer. I went home to Nova Scotia in the summer, but so I lived there, and then after that I decided to actually go back to school, because I was like, what am I doing? Like, I'm playing hockey, I'm working at a daycare, Nike closed, so I was like, I'm not doing that anymore. Like, all my jobs.
Not many criminals to read up on around here.
Not a police officer, not a lawyer, so can't really do that. So yeah, I went back to school and I did sport and event marketing at George Brown College in downtown Toronto, and that was honestly that was one of the best decisions I've ever made. Just the networking and the connections, and being able to see what it was like to work in a sports industry. My internship was with the Leafs, actually, so that was pretty fun.
Yeah, because you worked in their, what was it, their hockey development, community relations department?
Yeah, I did a little bit of that after my internship, but I was, well, I guess a little bit of both, but like one of my biggest jobs was like going to this like storage room where I would just put music on and like pack like signed sticks, signed jerseys, and go up to the mailroom, slap a tag on it, and send it out as like a donation. Like, that was my main job. It was actually really fun though.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Just slap music on, dancing around, packing up some stuff to make some kid's day.
There wasn't enough room in that storage locker to dance, but I could sing. So
well, we've learned that. What kind of aside from Shania, what else were you belting a tune?
Oh, at that time, oh my gosh, what was a good one? Maybe like Rihanna. Like, remember that song Stay?
Yes.
That was big at the time. I remember that vividly. Like, that song, that storage locker room, packing sticks and jerseys, and not really around anybody else on the concourse of like, Scotiabank. It was fun though. Yeah.
It was Air Canada Center back then, I think.
I think it might have been. Yeah, I was trying to remember. I didn't want to get it wrong. I was like, Air Canada, Scotiabank. I'm not sure, but yeah,
that's wild. So after spending like 6 years with the Furies, winning a Clarkson Cup championship, no big deal, putting up some big numbers for the team. Actually, Kori, I read randomly online somewhere, this is hilarious, that I assisted on your first goal. And your first goal was scored against Erica Vanderveer, who was my goalie when I went to Ohio State. Just this full circle moment of hockey and the spider web and how small the world actually is.
That's awesome.
You decided to like just retire, switch roles, and jump into coaching. Like, what was the moment there where you were like, this is probably something I'm going to do or want to do or might like doing? Because I can't remember the timing, but I remember you went away to New Zealand with a linesman that used to actually lines our games all the time, Vanessa Strats, who like I used to always give an earful to. And when we became pals, like she'd always be like, Tessa, just shut up, like go line up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, I can't remember the timeline where things line up, but did you go do that first before you decided, okay, coaching's my thing? And was that kind of the moment where you realized, hey, I like this?
Yeah, it all happened really quickly, and I kind of came to a crossroads, like I did back in 2012 when I decided to go back to school. I was like, at the end of my playing career, I was kind of like, okay, what's next for me? Like, I'm working, I'm playing, but at some point I need to kind of turn the page and maybe turn into, getting a career. And so actually I had called our GM at the time, who was Rebecca Davies, and I called her in like January, and I just said, hey, Davies, like, this is going to be my last year. I'm not going to play beyond this year. And at that time, I was actually going to transition into working full-time for TMU, which was my job before the men's team. And then I was also going to work for a U18 AAA or AA team as the head coach. So I was going to coach and I was going to work for TMU. And then what had happened was the TMU assistant coach on the men's side position came up. And so I had worked with Johnny Duco, who is still currently the head coach, but he was going to be taking over as the head coach at that time. And so he recommended to me to just apply for the full-time position. Because I had asked, like, hey, do you think I could just come out and push pucks and kind of learn the ropes? And he was like, well, why don't you just apply for the full-time position? And I was like, okay, well, that makes sense to me. But I did have some coaching actually from a mentor at TMU that also pushed me in that direction. Her name is Heather, and she worked with me quite a bit just on like career development. And so we looked at the women's side at TMU and we're like, wow, there's like 6 women who are going to be in line for this position, you know, if Lisa Haley decides to retire. And so I didn't see room for myself on the women's side. And that's when I kind of looked to the men's side. And that's when I touched base with Johnny, and then he recommended that. And so then I dove into it head first. Like my first year of coaching, I'm an assistant coach of a men's university team, and I'm a head coach of a U18 women's AA team. And I'm doing skill development, which brings in the New Zealand thing. So I just dove in. I was like, okay, I guess I'm a coach now. I guess that's just what I do. and so I dove in, and it was scary. I was a little naive, honestly. I didn't know quite what to expect. I was like, well, I know a lot about the game. Like, this is going to be easy, but you don't realize how much you don't know about the game until you go from being a player to a coach. And you know, anybody who is still currently a player, like the benefit of taking on some coaching roles is really crucial if you want to get to know the game on a deeper level. So that's when that transition happened.
What were some of the things that stood out to you that you're saying that were like, whoa, hold on, coaching's tough?
Yeah, well, like, you know, you have to just change your lens from like thinking about one person, which is yourself and your preparation and how you insert yourself into the team. And where a coach, you have to take the lens that is so much broader, and how every decision you make has the ability to impact somebody. And can you live with that impact that it's going to have on all of the people that it will have an impact on? And so you're now no longer taking care of just one, you're taking care of 26 to 30 players, and making sure that you're putting the puzzle pieces together that makes sense from a hockey standpoint, but also makes sense from a human standpoint, and taking care of the human as an individual, because without the human, like, you're not going to have the hockey player that you want.
Yeah. Was there a coach along the way that, like, right when you dove in, because obviously you're like, hey, I'm a coach now. Was there a coach that you had that came to mind right away where you're like, I'm kind of going to be like that?
Yeah, I mean, I was trying to learn from everybody, honestly. Like, you know, our head coach, Johnny Duco, at the time at TMU, like, he had a different style than one of our assistant coaches at TMU, Nathaniel Brooks. And then that was all in the time that I was starting with Hockey Canada as well. So, you know, me being naive before I have any sort of coaching experience, here I am emailing Mel Davidson, hey, Mel, I'd like to work for Team Canada. How can I do that? And she's like, you know, Mel, like, Mel's awesome. She's like, hey, Kori, glad you're, you know, going into the coaching world. She's like, you should have done it 2 years ago, but, you know, here we are now. Basically, stop playing. It's time to stop, and it's time to coach. Yeah. And so she's like, well, you actually need a full-time coaching position first, and you know, and then follow kind of back up. And then, so here I am, like, 2 years later, full-time coaching position. I'm like, hey, Mel, what do you, like, I have that job now. What do you think?
Yeah, I did what you said.
Yeah, I listened to you.
I stopped playing and I got a job. Yeah,
that's right. And so in that kind of whole area, you know, Troy Ryan was a big reason, I think, why, you know, big reason I ended up with Hockey Canada too. And he's been a huge mentor of mine all the way through. I've learned a lot from Troy, and, you know, two kind of Nova Scotia kids who didn't, you know, never played for Team Canada, you know, growing up and just kind of being, you know, hard workers, determined, grinding our way through the hockey world. So, you know, I learned a lot from him and took a lot from him. But, there's so many, and you know, I continue to shape and mold and try to figure out, you know, who I am as a coach and what that looks like. And, you know, is it just little adaptations, or is it, you know, entire philosophies, or, you know, learned a lot from Mike Sullivan too in my small stint with Pittsburgh, which was amazing. Like he, you know, if I text him, he always gets back to me, and that organization has been so great to me as well. So I continue to grow. Obviously, being a young coach, I'm still trying to learn and figure that out. But I'm definitely taking bits and parts from everybody.
I love that you kind of just breezed through your entire coaching career like it was no big deal, because it was a big deal from the start, Kori. And like you said, like you're like, I guess I'm just a coach now, but you were a coach on a U Sport men's hockey team, and that was a big deal, and it garnered a lot of attention. So did that make it more exciting or more stressful for you? Did you feel like you had to deliver on some kind of level, or were you just like still focused on just learning, like, cool, all the outside noise is outside noise, and I'm just here to learn as much as I can?
Yeah, I think like I kind of changed and adapted throughout my years with TMU. When I first started, like I said, I was kind of naive. I was like, oh, I played boys hockey, like this is going to be the same as when we were 15. And it wasn't. So, you know, I had a lot of support from TMU. I think, you know, more reservations were coming from my family that were concerned about, you know, obviously a male dominated industry, the coaching industry and the hockey industry as well. But, you know, they were concerned about maybe what I would face or what the barriers might be. And I thought that TMU did an excellent job of setting me up for success and supporting me along the way. And, but yeah, I mean, I started out as a coach that I was like, oh, okay, like I have to be like this strong, silent woman that like just knows all the right answers, can never make a mistake. And that's the way I started out. And then I quickly realized that like, hey, like why am I living this way? Like the guys, they appreciate me and they respect me for who I am because I can be tough and I can still love you at the same time. And so, you know, once I started to kind of figure out that authenticity piece of just showing up as me every single day, that's when I think, you know, I really got to dive into the coaching side of it even more and starting to impact athletes.
When Mel finally did give you the green light to join the under 18 squad, because you did everything she said in terms of quitting hockey and getting that full-time job with TMU. You joined as an assistant coach, which is kind of cool because Jen Gardner was on that team too, right?
Yeah, she was there with us. Yeah. So
Reagan Kirk was on that team too.
Yeah, Serdachny.
Yeah,
Serdachny was on that team. Markowski was on that team.
Wild. Again, small world the hockey world is. But what do you remember about coaching that team, and like maybe an aha coaching moment where you're like, whoa, these are like all-star studs on the women's side. Here I am coaching them. What did you learn about yourself as a coach, and what did you learn about coaching at that level? Because at that time, for young ladies at that age, you know, that was a stepping stone to get to the national team, which for them at the time was their version of the NHL, because that was the pinnacle, that was the best, that was the be-all, end-all. So lots of stress and pressure, not only those kids are putting on themselves, but for the coaching staff as well to deliver and make sure that they're successful too, right?
Yeah, I mean, that coaching staff was absolutely amazing. Howie Draper was our head coach. It was me and Court Kessel, Court Burchard, and then Gord Woodall. So, you know,
sounds like no fun.
Coaches. Yeah, it was honestly like such a perfect coaching staff for me to start out with. I learned so much from Howie, and especially for that age level of the habits and details that it takes to play at that level. The amount of professionalism that Howie brought to the table. I remember I think I was running the power play for that team, and I remember I brought something to the table, and I remember Howie challenging me on it, and I remember thinking yeah, you're right. I don't think that this is the right direction to go in, or I need to find this piece instead of that piece. And I think that was kind of an aha moment of diving into it deeper and finding the details within it. And, working with those athletes, like the under 18 level is so special. Those players are so eager to be there. They want to listen. They want to be a part of Team Canada. They want to do exactly what you say. And that team was so close. I truly got to experience for the first time, like a family type environment, like on the women's side as a coach, at that high level under that type of pressure to win a gold medal. And it was over in Japan. It was so cool. We end up winning in overtime. Maddie Wheeler scores on the power play, I think, in overtime. And it was just like one of those moments where it was like, wow, like, I don't know if we were the underdog or we were supposed to win. We were probably the underdog against Team USA. Abby Murphy was on the other team at the time. Ooh. And yeah, so still like such a good player then, such a good player now. And we won. And that was like kind of that first taste of like what it takes to win a gold medal or to win at that level, and the type of bond that you need to have with your coaches and with your players in order to win.
And they scored the game winner on the power play, which you were in charge of. So, hey,
well,
props to you.
It's funny because it wasn't really it was an entry and a low drive, and it just so happened to be the power play. But, I take no credit for it because it wasn't a setup or anything, but it was.
Doesn't matter. You're still in charge. You had the right players out there.
Sure. There you go.
Okay. So before we get to the Olympics and stuff and all of the nitty gritty of what happened in your first Olympics, there was a major debacle. We'll get to that, but nonetheless, let's talk about your time in the NHL. And, you talked about, you still reach out to some coaches. There's a lot of people you lean on, which I think is awesome because hockey offers you a really big opportunity to network with a lot of people from a lot of different walks of life. And I feel like that as a player. Now, I never coached, and you have as a coach. And it seems like the coaching world has offered you some pretty unique relationships as well in terms of, working with the Pittsburgh Penguins and Coach Sullivan. And what was that experience like for you?
Oh, like working with Pittsburgh was absolutely amazing. Like every single person in that organization made me feel welcome the whole time. And he just, he threw me right into the fire. Like, you're going to do what we do. We'll prepare you for it. But like, this is how you're going to find success. This is how you're going to, get your feet wet in the NHL. And so, I was out there drawing drills, getting prepped ahead of time with them, in all the meetings. And, I was in front of the guys a lot. And it was just, they just saw me as another coach and having great conversations with those smart hockey minds. Like, I remember a certain situation that happened with, like, I think it was with Sid, and he went up to Mike and he's like, hey, like, we didn't get to that progression in the drill. Like, I thought we were going to get to that progression, and we didn't get to it. And it's just like players who are paying that much attention to the details of a drill.
Right.
To us as coaches, that's like music to our ears, that a player is reading a practice plan that detailed and recognizing when maybe we didn't do something or we altered it or what have you. But, I think that's the level that, these pro players are at. It's same on the women's side. Like, we expect the same thing. We want them to understand practice so we can get through things quicker and with execution and with detail. So I learned a lot from my time in Pittsburgh, just the amount that Mike dives into, even going over a practice plan when it's already been completed. What did we like about that practice? Hey, we need to make this adjustment next time. Hey, the pucks were a little bit too low here. We need them a little bit higher next time we do it. Let's save this for next year, so that all the meeting minutes are saved for next year's training camp. Those minutes are brought back up and those changes are made if the same drills are being used. And so just that level of detail. And then with Mike, like, one of the biggest things I noticed about him is his ability to command a room and his ability to be calm and cool and poised in front of athletes in order to get that messaging across. And he's one of the best speakers I've ever listened to in terms of a coach. So, I'm grateful for my time with Pittsburgh. I learned so much.
Was Sid aware you were an East Coaster? Did he know right away? Did he approach you or did you approach him?
Yeah, like the cool thing about Sid is like, he makes everybody feel noticed in a room. Like he comes in and says hi to everybody, looks everybody in the eye. And then when he leaves a room, he like says bye to everybody, looks them in the eye and goes on about his day. So we had some great conversations, especially during our time in Halifax with Pittsburgh had a tour of Halifax, and we were on the ice in Cole Harbour together, and we spent some time talking and just getting to know each other a little bit. And that was so cool. It's like, a player like Sid, you grew up watching. We're born in the same year, so I was able to follow his career all the way through. And you're just trying to be like, okay, like don't be a fan. Like you can't be a fan, like you're a coach, right? So you're trying to play it cool, like, oh yeah, like I remember that one timer you did on the goal line of in 2007. Yeah, I remember that. And but yeah, it was so cool to be around those players, and like they're just so human. Like they love the game as much as you do. They are detailed about it. They care about the game. They want to leave the sport better than when they found it. Like there's just so many awesome things about the players that I got to meet in Pittsburgh.
That's cool. And then you get on the coaching staff for the national team, who is looking to avenge basically the silver medal that they won or earned in 2018 that they lost? 2018.
Yeah.
So 2022 rolls around. You guys had won Worlds the year prior in the COVID bubble, which was a thing in itself. So COVID clearly, an issue in terms of a centralization year where, players all move to Calgary. They train under a certain coaching staff, which you were a part of. And then you guys all had to ship off and hopefully make it to the Olympics. Now, we had Megan Keller on talk about her time with Amanda Kessel, how they almost didn't make it over. And I remember I had my daughter at this point, okay? And she was brand new. I was breastfeeding her. I was watching the game. And, they're doing all of, like on TV, they're showing all the images of the ladies getting together to take their picture. And I see a coach holding up a phone. And obviously I was up every 3 hours feeding my daughter, so I didn't necessarily have the volume on. I was just watching the game with my eyes. And it didn't dawn on me that you were not, I didn't see you once on the bench. And then when they held up the phone in the picture and I'm looking on TV, I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. And I can't remember if I messaged you at like 4 a.m. that day or if it was the next morning, but I was like, please tell me you're there. So what happened to you on this trip for your first Olympics as a coach?
Oh yeah, I know it is heartbreaking. But yeah, I got COVID a week before we were supposed to leave, and I think everybody was pretty hopeful that I would still be able to make it over. Me and one of my colleagues, Dylan Rockwell, he got it too, and they were hopeful we'd be able to make it over, but just with the testing schedule and kind of the restrictions that we had to provide in order to make it to Beijing, the COC had called it, and Gina called me, and it was obviously like the most devastating day. You go your whole life, this as a player, like your whole life is committed to making that team as a player. So for me, that was my younger years, is making that team as a player. When that didn't happen, and now there was a reality to become a coach, it was like my dream was sparked again. Like, oh, I could be a part of this now, but on the staff. And so when that didn't happen, I was like, oh God, like worst day ever. Like, is this ever going to happen for me again? And, it was a really pivotal moment though in my coaching career. Like I think back on it as devastating as it was a moment where I could choose, who I wanted to be and how I wanted to show up in that at that time. And so I decided like, okay, I'm going to get home. I was in Vancouver at the time. I'm going to get home to Nova Scotia, 12-hour time change. So easy for me, easy math. And so I could be a part of all of the team meetings. I was still working on PK and running PK meetings. I was still having FaceTimes with the girls and doing video sessions with them. And, so I had switched my schedule. So I was kind of like you, except I didn't have a baby. But I was on I was on a 3-hour, nap schedule. So I would wake up at 1 a.m. for, a meeting with a player. And it was 1 p.m. in Beijing time. So I was just trying to have as much impact as I could from afar. And, it's that moment that made me realize how much impact we actually can have when we're in a place there in person with people. And it kind of made me think how can I do things differently? How can I show up differently? Because I was able to have an impact from this far away. How can I do it? Yeah. So
were you watching the games, and then would you text Troy and stuff in the intermissions, or how did that work? Tell me you were involved in the intermissions and stuff.
Well, it was hard because intermissions is so fast for coaches. You're all talking as a group. And so, I'm always going to send my thoughts or send something along, but you can't be sure that that's being seen. It was more like the debriefs after games I would be a part of. And, but for the gold medal game, I was I was watching every game from my living room in Nova Scotia and taking notes and, getting prepared for the next game. And, finally for the gold medal game, I'm okay, we're going into the third period here. I'm going to put a jersey on and I'm going to be a fan, because there's nothing more I can do. If there's nothing more left to do, I just have to sit here and watch it and hope we execute and win gold. And so that's when I became a fan. And that's, you talked about the phone. One of our assistant coaches called me, and I saw her calling on FaceTime, but when I answered, it was the players, and they all had me on the cell phone, and they were holding it up and doing a nice picture. So that was kind of my Beijing moment, was
cool.
Being able to be on FaceTime with them in the middle of the ice.
It's cool that they thought of you in that moment.
That was really nice, for sure.
So I think that goes to show, the impact you had, not only, in terms of X's and O's with the team, but obviously I know you as a person, and you're a funny person that likes to, get involved, have some jokes. Like you say, get to know the human first. So clearly they appreciated what you had done in order to help them be successful. And that, I think that moment just speaks to that, which is pretty cool. And then, which is fine. I talked to you about it, and I felt really bad that all that happened to you. You seem to have processed it very well. And like you said, that was your Beijing moment. You had it, you got it. And I'm quite certain that won't be your last. But then the PWHL rolls around, the league drops. You throw your name in a hat to be a coach for Montreal. Now, you've been an assistant coach your entire career prior to this, correct? So the jump to head coach, what was that, a hard transition? Was it something that you were prepared for, because you had seen you'd worked alongside so many greats do it before you? Or was it just something that you're I'm going to do this my way, I've got an idea now, and this is it?
Yeah, I still think I'm taking pieces here and there from what I learn. I think as a coach, you're always trying to learn, you're always trying to get better, you're always trying to strategize something better than the other coach that you're going to play against. And that's my mindset, is I'm always trying to outthink the other or the opposition, but meanwhile keeping our global plan of how we want to play as a team. Certainly there was an adjustment of holy cow, this is, not only is it my first time as a head coach of a season-long team, but it's my first time as a head coach, and it's a new pro league. It's basically, a new business starting up. So there was a lot of different challenges, and, brand new coaching staff as well. And, I knew some of them, and some of them I really was just kind of acquaintances with. And And so that has been a nice, new piece for me is how do we bring our coaching staff together? How do we utilize our coaches best in their strengths in order to help impact our players the most? And I think that's what we're constantly thinking about, is just how can we help the players, help them impact their play. And if we can impact the play individually with players, we can help our global game. And that's kind of my approach with it, is doing as much as we can and helping the individuals in order to grow our team game. And I'm still growing, I'm still learning, I'm still strategizing and trying to figure out from game to game, hey, what's the most important piece of information? Like I always say that, a good coach can bring meaningful and valuable content to their players or to their team in a short period of time, and can have that impact that you can see in that next game. And so that's kind of the mindset that we try to have as a coaching staff. It's like, okay, let's just get down to the priority. Let's focus on that and let's bring it to the table. And then we can see that come out in our team's play.
Right. Was Montreal the team that you wanted? Was that the team you pursued?
Yeah, that was the team that I wanted to be a part of.
And not being a French-speaking individual.
Yeah.
Were you just like, you like, I'm just going to learn French. This is what I'm doing.
Well, I kind of like, it's kind of symbolic, honestly. I don't know if that's the right word, but like, it reminds me of like, I just jumped into poly again and I'm just going to figure it out. And like, for me, I knew that was going to be a barrier, but I didn't quite know to what extent it was going to be a barrier. And once I kind of realized like, oh, wow, like, I think I'm in good standing with the media in Montreal, but, once I realized that the media is pretty relentless and they weren't going to stop until something, came from it, I was like, well, I'm just going to do what I do with everything, and I'm going to dive in and I'm going to commit to it, and I'm going to do my best to learn French. And, that's still a work in progress, but it requires like being brave, being courageous, putting yourself out there. And I know that like, if I do that combined with my work ethic, combined with my personality and my care for our athletes, our players, and this city, I know that, that should be a recipe for success.
Love it. Lastly, before we let you leave, expectations for the remainder of the season for the Victoire this year.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of have like an inside expectation as a team. So I'll let you know at the end of the season. Okay. I won't let you know now. But, obviously we, for us, like we learned so much with our exit last year from the playoffs, and what that felt like, what that looked like, what we needed to keep, what we needed to change. And now, like the way that I still have in my mind, like what those players looked like after game 3 of losing. And that's just what I keep in my mind. Like every day I'm like, no, we're doing it for that. Like we've got to get to the Walter Cup, and it's like Walter Cup or nothing. And, we'll continue to push in that direction, as all teams are and as all teams will. But, there is a little something special and about this group. And like I said, if we achieve what we want to achieve, which is, something aside from the Walter Cup, I'll let you know at the end of the year.
Sounds good. Kori, it's been awesome following you, your career. It's been a ton of fun playing alongside you, and obviously getting to follow you now. Thanks for taking the time. As you said, coaches are busy. You guys got lots of videos to watch. So proud of you, buddy. Keep up the good work, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks, Tessa.
I feel like Kori will always have such a special place in my heart. It's TMU now, but I went to Ryerson when Kori was coaching there, and she was like, the guys loved her so much. I don't want to shred the head coach, but the guys loved her so much. Like the guys loved going to her. I loved going to her as media. Like I think they still miss her there. Like she still has an impact on that bench.
That's cute. I like to hear that. And just especially with her story where she was like, I guess I'm coaching now. Like it wasn't wasn't a plan. It was just something that kind of the universe kind of pushed her into it, which is pretty cool because obviously it's what she should be doing, not studying criminals like she said. No offense, Corey. I'm sure you'd be a great.
I could kind of picture that. She rocks a blazer.
Yeah, that's fair. But I think she belongs on a bench. I don't think she belongs studying criminals, albeit she probably would have worked hard at that too and been good at it. But coaching, definitely her forte.
100%. Montreal's got such a good one there in Kori Cheverie. All right, just one Send It segment question today. This one is presented by SportChek. And, you know, with the Four Nations face-off going on, and unfortunately you and I were
on a
in
plane
flight during what was a crazy Canada-USA game on the men's side that opened with 3 fights, and that obviously has our listeners a little bit hot and horny for physicality and violence in hockey right now. So we got this question from someone named Boozless Blunder. He asked, "Hi, longtime listener, first-time caller. I'm wondering if you can explain why PWHL doesn't allow fighting in games like they do in the NHL. People want to see the girls throw down." Tessa, what do you think?
I don't want to throw down. I mean, there were times, sure, that I did. But fighting is illegal in all sports. Like, the
dude,
NHL
they get a
doesn't-
penalty.
It's illegal. You can't fight in the NHL, and similarly, you cannot fight in the PWHL. Although you still can in the PW if you wanted to drop the gloves and go. Cool, but like we're wearing cages,
Dude,
and it's
have you
kind
ever
of
hit
hard
somebody
to rip a cage off
with a cage on?
with
That's
my
like
bare hand. No,
The
I would never do that.
stupidest. I have an epic story from when I was in a hockey tournament in Minneapolis once. I wasn't hitting with my bare hand, but I dropped my one glove and I held the girl by the cage and I fed her with my gloved hand. So if anybody's looking for advice on fighting in women's hockey, that's what I have to offer. You're so unimpressed by that.
It's fine. It's because I've been in a couple, but like, it's just so when you're in it, you kind of laugh a little bit with the person you're with. You're like, this is so dumb. Like, we both have cages on. One, I don't want to get hit in the face. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I have
And there's
no
so
interest
many
in getting
dust
hit in my
ups.
face.
Like, you see so many dust ups in women's hockey, like between the whistles, scrums, like push, shove. I think they're pretty good there.
If we wanted to get hit in the face, we would be wearing half visors. But I like my face, so I would like to keep it this way, and I'm sure everyone else in the league does as well. I mean, I'm sure there's a few that would wear a half visor if they could, but like, I don't know. I don't
Who
want
would be
my
your
face
top players that would? The first player that popped into my head, I think she should start wearing one tomorrow. Hannah Miller. Hannah Miller needs a half vise. Like, she would look so good in it.
You know who always wanted to wear the half vise and like would bring it up to me sometimes? Like, you would do it, You would do it. Was Haley Wickenheiser, and I was like, no, dude, I would never do that. Like, I know you want to.
Honestly,
I
if
don't
you
want
gave me
that.
guesses, I would have guessed that person. She's such a hard
as number one.
Like, what?
She's so badass in that sense, and I'm just like, Wick, I get it. Like, no. I will not. I will not be doing that anytime. I like my face. I like my teeth.
Sarah Nurse went on Spit and Chicklets, last year, and I honestly thought that she summed it up better. Like, the guys were honestly curious about, like, why don't you guys wear half visors? Do you want to? And she was like, check out our insurance. Like, check out my face. Like, I'm cute. No, I don't want to do that. And the guys
don't
like,
want that.
I didn't really think of that before.
And also, like,
we're cool with that.
Go look at a retired hockey player's face. I don't want my face looking like that.
Love you, Liam.
Do you know what I mean? Like, Liam's teeth, the big scars on the lips, chunks of eyebrows missing. I'm like, oof.
Yeah.
No thanks. So
I
fighting,
like my men looking weathered,
not
but I need my
allowed
girls
in
looking
either-
fresh.
Yeah, fighting isn't allowed in either league, but you can still do it. But we're just choosing not to. That's it.
Yeah.
That's where
Everybody's hot and heavy for fighting right now after seeing the violence in Can USA. So, fair question. Guys, we got to hit the road. So we will talk to you on Friday. Hopefully we are back in Toronto at that point. We will be back in Toronto because we have a flight scheduled for Wednesday. So by Friday,
I'm
we'll
going to be driving
definitely
across
in
Canada if this flight is canceled. So
yeah, we'll let you know. We'll keep you updated on our social media. Check us out on YouTube, on Instagram, X, TikTok, Facebook. We have like almost 300 followers, so like our Facebook page. Thank you very much for chugging that along with me. We will keep you updated on our travels, so follow us on those websites. Thank you very much to our sponsors, Shark Ninja, Pizza, CCM, Canadian Tire, SportChek. We appreciate you all very much, and we'll see you Friday.